We're finally on the last bit of news coverage for Toy Fair. A week late, but better late than never, I suppose. So let's take a look at the upcoming Cyberverse toys, starting with the Action Attackers. First up is Optimus Prime. The description says he's a 3 3/4 inch Optimus Prime figure that converts from robot to truck mode, although the truck mode isn't pictured here. I guess Hasbro neglected to include a photo. But according to the description, apparently during the last step in the transformation, he swings his axe. Definitely seems to be an improvement over a lot of the previous Cyberverse toys, where some of them didn't even really transform. But I'll keep waiting for a definitive Cyberverse Optimus Prime toy, and that could basically be said for the rest of the toys in this video. So let's move on to them. Next up is a little more interesting, and something I could see people buying bunches of. It's a Scraplet. Yep, a Scraplet, just like how they looked in Transformers Prime. Will they be in Season 2 of Cyberverse 2? We'll just have to wait and see. Also a weird addition is Gnaw, the Sharkticon Gnaw. Again, I could see people buying multiples of this guy. Also, at first, I thought he was the same Gnaw from Titan's Return, but he's not. It's very similar, but it's not the same mold. Now the next one is interesting. It's Deadlock. Not Drift, but Deadlock. I think this is the first time Deadlock has ever gotten a retail figure. The only other Deadlock figure was an eHobby exclusive. But it's interesting that we've already seen Deadlock in Cyberverse, in the episode McAdams, where he switches sides to the Autobots. And we saw him on board the Ark during the episode Sabotage, but the canon of that episode is dubious, since it was from an implanted memory created by Shockwave. But in the show, he was much more like his darker Deadlock colors, whereas this toy is clearly more Drift inspired. Maybe in the future we'll get a weird backwards repaint of this that's Drift, but he's in more Deadlock colors. Next is Grimlock. His action attacker gimmick can be deployed in both robot mode and dino mode. It's kind of funny how in dino mode his tail kind of looks like a helicopter propeller, at least from the way they did these stock photos. And the last of the action attackers is Alpha Trion. Now we've seen Alpha Trion in the episode Matrix of Leadership. It's pretty rare for him to get a retail figure. This one in vehicle mode kind of reminds me of the BotCon exclusive, which was a repaint of Cybertron Vector Prime. But his action gimmick reminds me of Cybertron Starscream's, the way his weapons flip out of his wings. Next are the one-step changers. First is Shockwave. His alt mode is described as a tank, but it really doesn't look anything like his Spider Tank mode from the show. He honestly reminds me more of the new Siege Shockwave, not just in alt mode, but in robot mode too. And the other one-step changer we have here is none other than Sky-Byte. Yes, everyone's favorite poetry-loving shark from the original Robots in Disguise. He actually looks alright as a one-step changer. He's even somewhat reminiscent of his original toy, with the chest and the spinning arm gimmick. He also reminds me of the Hellscream mold, the way he has his shark head for his right arm, and his tail for his left arm. Now onto the Spark Armor figures, which seems to be the main gimmick for this second season, at least according to the trailer. Let's start off with our boy Sky-Byte again. Yes, Sky-Byte gets not one, but two figures in this line. This one seems to be a bit more inspired by his recent Generations toy, what with the shark head chest and the molded detail on the legs reflecting that toy. With two toys in this line, not to mention the fact that Lockdown, Lugnut, and Cheetor are already set to appear in Season 2 of Cyberverse, I'd be more surprised if Sky-Byte didn't show up in the cartoon. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention the whole gimmick here is basically the Transformers now have Battleizers. Hasbro's already capitalizing on their purchase of Power Rangers by stealing that idea. So Sky-Byte comes with a drill tank that transforms into an armor for him. All the figures in this Spark Armor subline do this. And I like how they paired the alt modes to complement each other. Sky-Byte is already a shark, so if say he came with a boat Spark Armor, that would be kind of redundant. Whereas having him with a little drill tank drone makes much more sense, since it can go places he can't. Maybe it can even dig a tunnel, which floods with water, which Sky-Byte can then swim through and bust up through the ground to surprise his enemies. And of course the fact that it gives him a spinning drill weapon for his one hand complements his spinning claw hand on the other arm. Well, I guess we better move on to the rest of the line. Next up is Prowl, who has a pretty decent base figure. He comes with a little blue jet, which looks pretty cool on its own. And in the armor mode, it gives him a big star on his chest, and it seems to give him his old G1 shoulder cannons. But the interesting thing here is that he has a light bulb symbol on his head. So does the Spark Armor give him some kind of light power? Next is Jetfire. Yes, I'm a big fan of Jetfire, so anything Jetfire related is probably going to be an automatic buy for me. It'd be great to see him in the show. Nice to see the Autobots with another flyer. The base toy here looks great. I do wish the boosters were removable though, and could be used as guns in robot mode. The tank armor he comes with though, I'm not really a fan of. The actual tank mode looks fine, it's more so the armor mode. I think it's because it reminds me of something from Call of Duty. Or maybe it just doesn't fit the character of Jetfire, who in G1 was a scientist and a bit of a pacifist. But here he comes with a tank with loads of guns on it. Up next is Starscream. Again, a fairly decent base figure. He comes with a little yellow bulldozer, which when in armor mode, kind of gives Starscream a crown. Not much else to say, probably the best looking Starscream toy so far. Next up is Megatron, who we've seen his battleizer, Spark Armor, in the trailer for Season 2 already. His tank mode is, well, it's garbage. It's not a tank at all. It's just Megatron doing some bizarre Cybertronian yoga pose. Robot mode also doesn't really look like Megatron in the show. It looks more like G1 Megatron. His helicopter drone seems to be based on Spinister, which is cool I guess if you're a Spinister fan. His armored up mode isn't too hot either. It's nice that they're homaging his old school mace weapon, but I don't get it. Are those new arms supposed to replace his existing arms, or are they additional arms like on Siege Shockwave? This is probably the weakest of the new Cyberverse reveals. Now his rival Optimus Prime looks much better, though the robot mode doesn't feel super accurate to his appearance on the show, but it's still better than Megatron's resemblance. His jet partner I like to think is an homage to the old GoBot Leader 1, and his armor mode definitely feels like an homage to Jetwing Optimus Prime from the movies. Next is Bumblebee. Yes, of course Bumblebee needs his own Spark Armor. Again, I just don't see Cyberverse Bumblebee when I look at this. It looks more like the Evergreen Bumblebee design. And his ship Spark Armor, a lot of people have been saying looks like an homage to Broadside. But man if he doesn't look like an homage to Armada Tidal Wave and Megatron in his armor mode. Now Grimlock, yes Grimlock gets one too. His Dino mode looks a little off. It's almost like there's no body. It's just tail, legs, little arms, neck, and head. His robot mode doesn't look too bad, except I think if his head were any smaller, he'd look like one of the Goombas from the Super Mario movie. And his Spark Armor vehicle is a garbage truck. Poor Grimlock. Of all the things to get stuck with, a garbage truck, which by the looks of it, appears to be stuck in permanent dump mode. Speaking of which, in armor mode, he too has these additional arms with big claws on them. A close second with Megatron for the worst reveals shown here. And finally, Optimus Prime gets another, bigger Spark Armor figure. This one definitely suffers from shrunken head syndrome, but this one comes with the Ark, like the Ark. How Optimus Prime will manage to combine with the whole Ark? Who knows? Maybe there will be some mass shifting involved here. But when they're combined, they look quite impressive. He especially reminds me of Sentinel Prime in Megatron Origin when he gets all Apex armored up. Well, that's it for toy news for now. Overall, I think these new Cyberverse figures are an improvement on the previous ones, but I'll still keep waiting until we get some really good, collector quality figures that are more show accurate and more articulated, and aren't bogged down by unnecessary gimmicks. What do you think of these new Cyberverse figures? Do you plan on picking any of them up? As always, let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and I'll see you back here for more Transformers news and reviews.